And I was saying that I think my upbringing is like perfect. And you were saying that, well, like anybody successful would say that, or anybody who was happy or content, confident with where they are would say that. That never, like, whilst what you said makes sense, and I couldn't disagree with it, and even to this day I can't really disagree with it. Like examples like the one we just alluded to make me think that like, nah, like somewhere I got, well, depending on whether you believe in luck or not, I either earned my luck or got really lucky with the balance of trauma and confidence building I got given. Because like I always go back to it, like I spoke in Eli's podcast about how Auntie B, all I ever heard from her is like, I don't know what you're going to do, but you're going to be successful. Alright, thanks. Like, you may, as a youth, like you may kind of just hear that and just brush it off. But each time you hear it, it leaves something on you, like, yeah, thanks. I know. But you'd rather be that you who's like, yeah, thanks, I know. Or hear it. Sometimes you need reminding. Than never hear that. And combine that with the elements of my upbringing that weren't that easy. The easiest thing to point to being death. Of loved ones. Yeah, well, yeah, traumatic sounds like a very dramatic word, but if we're using it like from a scientific perspective, then yeah. Then yeah, I can't help but feel like even if it was fluke, like the balance that I experienced was like surely it played a huge part in the ease in which I navigate certain things that people around me and some people that I care about, some people that I don't really know but kind of care about, seem to struggle with. You with me? Mm-hmm. And that's the only thing that holds me back from like wholeheartedly agreeing with your idea of like, well, if you're confident and content and happy with where you're at, then you're gonna think you
everything up until now is why, so it makes sense.
Exactly.
But that is the case though, as well though.
Go on.
Because everything up until now is why.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean exactly?
Confident, successful, like as a person. But everything up until then is what's made you confident and successful. So technically, yes. Anybody that's confident and successful, right, everything up until then has made them confident and successful.
Yeah, oh shit, of course.
So
Andrew
Tate, for example, he talks about his childhood and how his dad this and his dad doing that to his mum is the reason why he's amazing and Of course, because everything up until then is what's made you where you are.
Oh yeah, of course. When you put it like that, it almost sounds stupid to see it any other way.
Mm-hmm. Right. But it's not at the same time, because yes, it was perfect.
Yeah.
Like yes, the balance that you had was perfect in many ways. Like it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Like there's obviously you could argue a huge point if it adds the person as well. Because just because two siblings had the exact same experience doesn't mean that they're both going to be confident and
That's where a huge level of complexity lies. Mm-hmm. That's where
there is part of the person itself and how they react and respond to certain situations and what they create for themselves.
Yeah, that is a really interesting element because it's not something that I've really looked into, but I do remember Jordan Peterson referring to how people are essentially, or from a psychologist's perspective, people are born with a level of tolerance to traumatic things. Mm-hmm. So I guess if you experience a life that just perfectly stabs at your, or how would I put it, perfectly just flirts with your tolerance level, and I guess like training takes you close to your 1 rep max occasionally and then flirts in and around that, you would then come out a bigger and better person because of that.
So there's lots of ways you can argue like for or against type of person, your personality type. Like the basis of what I'm trying to say. If you understand.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
So the only way you can explain where you are is what happens to get you there.
It's true. It's a really good point. And when you put it like that, I mean, yeah, you almost feel a bit stupid. So now you need to essentially decipher what he experienced, what somebody that has that I can take over the world confidence experienced. And then in some way code both of them and figure out where you had something that they didn't that may have instilled that confidence in you. And then from there, figure out a way to give them that experience now that may then develop that I can take over the world confidence in them. I kind of like that term, like as a very vague description of the level of confidence, because it's not even just like an Andrew Tate confidence of like I'm uber successful and I've achieved X, Y, and Z, because you need that I can take over the world confidence, quote unquote, before you're successful and have achieved X, Y, and Z.
Andrew Tate talks about that as well, actually.
I don't think I've come across that. I haven't
He
watched
talks about
stuff.
kickboxing.
Yeah.
So when he was before anything, and he was started the kickboxing, and he was saying that he was talking about girls mainly, but he was talking about how like girls would still want him and still be around him. He was like, why? Because I had that I can take over the world confidence. I had that I'm going to be successful in kickboxing and I'm going to make money and the confidence. And that was all that I needed.
That makes sense. That's interesting. Anyway, I was having a conversation about the importance of... It was actually a really good question. Like, how important do you really think it is in today's society to learn how to fight? And I thought it was a beautiful question, I'll be real. Like, when I heard it, I was like, damn, that is an amazing question. As somebody who, like, you were there with that conversation with me, you and Cass, when we was talking about how, like, a fighter's frame, an elite fighter's frame is unbeatable. Like, you can be Justin Bieber or Timothy Chalamet, and, like, we can step into the same room, but if I have the ability to kill you with my bare hands, like, I could take everything you have. But then the beauty of that question is like, well, you can't do that in today's society. So how powerful does it really make that frame? And that got me thinking a lot. And like in that conversation, I think I answered it something along the lines of like, well, all that really matters is you finding that thing that gives you that confidence. So me, for example, I've even felt it the last few days. Obviously, I haven't been training for 3 weeks now, which is a long time for me, 2-3 weeks now. And I felt like I've been getting a bit cranky, a little less patience with the dog, little things like that. A little bit more cranky, sorry. A little less patience with the dog and whatnot. And yeah, the conclusion that I personally came to was that all that matters is that you find that thing that gives you that I can take over the world confidence. For me, that's fighting. For me, like, yeah, 100%. I'm not even, like, I don't even need to be that good. I ain't that good in the grand scheme of it. I'm not that good at all, but you train regularly enough and you'll feel like you can take over the world, because why not? Like, you can fuck people up and you can get fucked up and still stand up, which is probably the more important part, to be fair, thinking about it, from what you've been telling me recently about the importance of experiencing trauma. You probably gain way more from learning how to fight with regards to, you probably gain way more from the getting fucked up element of learning how to fight versus the times when you're just
fucking everyone up.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess that's part of the. I guess you could then argue that that's a huge part of a man's journey, like figuring out what is going to give me that I can take over the world confidence. Because some people will get that from intellect and learning, just fucking absolutely dominating a degree that will then allow them to go into a corporate world and absolutely dominate a business and so on. And so you obviously, I'm not very well versed in that world, because like the first thing I think of is like, well, okay, cool, you take someone like what's his name from the gym, and I think like, well, the missing piece to your puzzle could be you're clearly somebody who expresses themselves physically. Like, you're intellectual, you're a smart person, that's a given. And you're conscious, like you're a conscious being, you're very aware. But a lot of your energy is expended and expressed through, and your creativity is expressed through a physical outlet. So if that's the case, if you know that about yourself and you don't have that confidence that makes you feel like you could take over the world, and you haven't tried fighting, then I think like as a man, like you should try fighting, because it's like it's the apex of physical expression.
Thanks for listening.